Hey everybody, it's Chase with AV Pop Culture again, and get ready because today we are tiptoeing in to the terrifying world of seedy, sexy, and scary suburban horror. That's right, we are going to count down the top 13 suburban horror movies of all time. So pop that tape in, I got you, let's go do this. That's right, we are here for some suburban horror. This is that kind of horror that's just behind those picket fences, just under the surface of those idyllic small towns that you see across the country. That just little something lurking back there, from cul-de-sacs to haunted tract homes to very famous and iconic haunted houses in the middle of suburbia. We are going to count down your top 13 suburban nightmares. So grab a flashlight, keep that porch light on, and don't get too scared to answer the phone because we have 13 of the best of all time. All right, kicking off the list at number 13 is 1996's Scream.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes?
Who is this?
Now, this is Woodsboro, California, directed by Wes Craven, and it's only this low because you could argue it's more of like a town vibe. It's a little bit on the edges of it, but it is definitely suburbia, no matter how you want to slice it. And slicing it is exactly right, because Scream isn't just a slasher. It's like a suburban meta mystery horror film gone off the rails. It was kind of ahead of its time. It kicked off the whole meta horror, meta movie genre, with maybe Wes Craven's A New Nightmare being the little forerunner test drive for this. But it deconstructs everything that we know about horror films. It does it all in the context of this small town. They institute a curfew. Everybody's in on it. Small town slasher. It's meta, it's scary, it's sexy, it's funny, and it turned it into a big whodunit of a slasher suburban horror. Scream has to be on the list. It comes in at number 13. Now at number 12 on this list is one that some people may argue isn't straight up horror, but horror is somewhat subjective, and to be honest, I could have put several in this category from this one director on this list. But taking the number 12 spot here is 2001's Mullholland Drive. Now this one is directed by the great late David Lynch, and maybe it is more of a psychological horror noir, but it does have some straight up supernatural elements, and depending on how you interpret the film, you could see everything from demons to the devil and ghosts making an appearance in this film. A young woman wakes up from a car crash on Mullholland Drive, and she has amnesia, but she stumbles into an increasingly surreal nightmare. This thing blurs the lines between reality, dimensions, timelines fracture. Suburban horror kind of gives way to this existential dread, and it uses the Hollywood Hills, maybe the sun-drenched neighborhoods of this beautiful area instead of the normal suburbia. But I still think that its message to you is not just how scary everything is right below the surface of where you are, but the scariest thing is maybe losing who you are. And this movie definitely explores that in the context of a very different suburbia. I could have Blue Velvet on here. I could have Lost Highway, but for this one, we're going to go with Mullholland Drive at number 12. Now, number 11 on this list takes us to Kingston Falls, USA, directed by Joe Dante. I'm talking 1984's Gremlins. Now, this one starts as a Hallmark Christmas movie. You've got Spielberg involved in this thing, but it ends as a straight up monster creature feature when little Billy gets his Mogwai and Gizmo as a pet. And of course, everything goes downhill after that. You get him wet, monsters appear, you feed them, even worse monsters appear. But this thing just oozes a whole beautiful, idyllic, snow-covered suburban town that's just hustling and bustling around Christmas time, crackling with that small town suburban charm. You've got Christmas lights and Christmas trees, but then it takes these comfortable suburban areas like your own home, in your kitchen, your safe spaces, your movie theaters, your small town movie theaters, all of these things, and turns them upside down and makes them a point of terror and fear for your life in this thing. It's campy, it's creepy, it's actually pretty dark at some points, but it is an absolute iconic blast. The only reason it is this low is because so many people will fight me on whether or not it is actually a horror. To me, there's no question this is a creature feature horror film at its finest, done by one of the best to do that, Joe Dante. So for me, one of my favorites of all time, Gremlins, comes in at number 11. Now, number 10 on this list takes us to Anytown, USA on a Halloween night, and it is directed by Michael Dougherty. I'm talking 2007's Trickor Treat. Now, this is one that I could argue is one of the best films about Halloween ever made, but as an anthology, it weaves its way through all of suburbia, the ins and outs, different aspects of suburbia, from couples to kids trick-or-treating to the crazy guy next door to principals to 20-somethings out for parties. And it all takes place in and out this little town where all the stories overlap on a pumpkin-lit suburban street, parties going on. You have little Sam, a tiny trick-or-treater, maybe, in orange pajamas, who's out there to enforce the rules of Halloween for all suburbia, and if you break those rules, you are toast. It's like Creepshow meets your local neighborhood watch on Halloween. Make sure you have your jack-o'-lanterns out and ready, your candy ready to go. Protect your suburban sanctuary from Little Sam, because Trick or Treat comes in at number 10. Now, number 9 on this list takes us to Mayfield Place. Again, a place that could be any town, USA, idyllic suburbia for 1989's The Burbs. This is one where have you ever had a neighbor who you suspect might be hiding something a little sinister, maybe sexy, creepy, who knows what? You just know something is up. Well, this movie takes that feeling, runs with it, and does not stop. It has Tom Hanks starring as your average every guy with a bad case of suburban paranoia that is ratcheted up because of his more paranoid suburban neighbors in this cul-de-sac where a reclusive family moves in on the block to the one creepy house that looks like the Addams Family sort of dropped it into a perfect idyllic neighborhood. Then you get all these kind of things that would make anyone suspicious. Late night digging, all kinds of weird behavior, crazy sounds, all of that stuff. This is a dark comedy that blends pitch perfect horror elements. Again, Joe Dante bringing it in with a creepy suburban storyline. But hey, sometimes this one lets you know that it's not paranoia if they really are out to get you. Because The Burbs has some twists and turns that turn out to be quite horrifying for any suburban cul-de-sac. This is one of my favorites, seeing Tom Hanks do comedy the way he does best. 1989, The Burbs checks in at number 9. Now, number 8 on this list takes a seriously darker and more scary, serious, and kind of creepy, sexy in some ways turn. I am talking about 1987's The Stepfather. Now, this one takes place in idyllic 80s suburbia of anywhere. Just the perfect idyllic 80s suburban setting. And this stars Terry O'Quinn, who is the perfect, polite, patriotic, paternal father figure in suburbia. He is just 1A. Picture of him, look it up, except for maybe he's just a little too perfect. Nobody can be that perfect without secrets to hide. And let me tell you, you are not ready for the first few minutes of this movie when you discover who this man is. A chilling serial killer who reinvents himself each time his perfect, idyllic family goes just a little bit left or right of center and gets off track. Things get too messy, too real. He moves on violently. He doesn't just ease on down the road. He is looking for domestic, perfect bliss, which obviously doesn't exist. This one is super sharp. It's a little slow burn, but it has one of the best performances in a horror film you're going to see from Terry O'Quinn. Absolutely chilling at what could just be going on under the surface. The serial killer next door, the stepfather, has it all, and it will chill you to the bone. It checks in at number 8. Now, number 7 on this list is a recent first-time watch for me, and it just skyrocketed up in this category. It's what made me want to go ahead and do this list. It takes us to Ipswich, Oregon for summer of '84. 2018, directed by Roadkill Superstar, I believe, is who takes credit for this. It's 1984. It takes you back. The synth music is blaring. The kids are riding bikes. They're spying on their hot neighbor. They're spying on their creepy neighbor. This isn't just a throwback to Goonies. It's a deadly reminder that what seems ordinary could be extraordinarily bad. So you get a group of teens in this that suspect their neighbor, who just so happens to be a police officer, of being a serial killer, and they launch their own investigation. But what starts out as like harmless, early teens, like 14, 15-year-old wanting to have a summer adventure that they're cooking up in their mind, this scary, supernatural, sexy little bit of fun as they spy on their neighbor, beautiful babysitter who's heading off to college. All of this starts out harmless and fun and nostalgic, but then the horror comes in hard. Because what is the scariest thing in suburbia? It's the people who smile at you every day and hide a serious monster behind that smile. This movie explores that, and boy, oh boy, does it take some extremely dark twists and turns. So if you like the Goonies and you like that coming of age, boy is in love with his babysitter, having a fun adventure with his friends over the summer, and then, oh crap, here comes the horror. Summer of '84 has all the nostalgia and feels for you. I love this movie. It is a very high recommend. It comes in at number 7. Now, number 6 on this list is one of my all-time favorites. I often say this might be my favorite horror film of all time. And honestly, if it wasn't a made-for-TV miniseries, I might have it at number 1 because it encapsulates everything that this list is about. It takes us to Derry, Maine for 1990's It. I am talking about the original miniseries based on the Stephen King novel and directed by Tommy Lee Wallace. So before Bill Skarsgård danced, Tim Curry terrified a generation as It, the clown Pennywise. This was a 2-part miniseries where childhood friends in this would-be idyllic, creepy town of Stephen King's concoction, Derry, Maine, where it said the best in the movie. It says, and in the book, it says the whole town is it in some way. This evil just oozes and permeates the entire town. This entire suburban town is infected with this evil that Pennywise brings. It's eerie. It is atmospheric, turned up to 11. It's one of those that just settles in on you, and then you're like, oh yeah, this thing is really here, killing and eating kids. It's the small town secrets where people turn the other way and just don't look, and people disappear and bad things happen. Small town secrets, horror, monsters, drama, your worst fears realized. Yes, you'll float too. In Derry, Maine, I love It 1990. It comes in at number 6. And that brings us to the top 5, and this is where we get iconic of iconic, and you don't get more iconic than going to Haddonfield, Illinois for Halloween 1978. Directed by one of my favorite directors of all time, John Carpenter. This is the night he came home to the suburbs. Michael Myers escapes a mental institution, the absolute boogeyman incarnate. He is supernatural. You'll never convince me otherwise. He heads back home to Haddonfield, a small, sleepy, idyllic suburban town where every teenager, every babysitter become his prey on that night, and no streets feel safe. You have Jamie Lee Curtis, who becomes instantly iconic in the role of Laurie Strode. The score is legendary, instant goosebumps. Carpenter took a quiet neighborhood, turned off the lights, put in a faceless, supernatural boogeyman killer, turned up the music, and let it go. He let it rip. All suburban horror roads could be traced back to this movie in a lot of ways. Halloween, an absolute icon. One of my favorites of all time. It checks in at number 5. At number 4 on this list is another one that Spielberg had his hands on, and a lot of people feel that he ultimately directed, but the actual directing nod goes to Tobe Hooper in this film, though me as a Spielberg guy, I 100% see Poltergeist from 1982 as mostly a Spielberg film. It takes us to the small suburban town of Puesto Verde, I believe it is, California, and the iconic "They're Here." This one is the gold standard for a family suburban haunted house story that was made up out of sort of thin air. As a suburban family moves into a new development, the TV starts talking, weird things start happening, furniture starts moving, ghostly lights, portals to other dimension, lightning storms, trees that come alive that look scary and attack you and literally pull it all in. And the scariest part of this is it all happens in a brand new tract home in this housing development that just happens to have been built over a burial ground, a cemetery where the corporate bean counters, in an effort to make the most profit, decided they would just move the headstones and leave the bodies right where they were, right under your feet. Never trust a big real estate developer, folks. Never do it. This movie actually had some real bones pop up in it. Lots of things happen. It was kind of a notoriously cursed set for people afterwards. Lots of mythology around it. It just adds to it. It is one of my favorites of all time. A great 4K. You can find this in a lot of places. Tobe Hooper, yes, but Spielberg magic is in there. That brings Poltergeist to number 4 on our list. And number 3 takes us to Springwood, Ohio, and Wes Craven once again for his legendary classic, A Nightmare on Elm Street. 1984, it was coming at you, claws and all. What a great year for movies. And this one asks, what if your dreams could kill you? It takes that nightmare scenario and drops it right down on Nancy and her friends who are living a quiet life on beautiful little Elm Street in suburbia until one by one, each of these teens gets taken out, killed horrifically in their sleep. The killer, Freddy Krueger, iconic for the fingernails, burned, vengeful, looking like a pepperoni pizza, which he was really modeled after, his skin, by the way. His gloves, razor fingers, he haunts their dreams. And in their dreams, if they die, they die for real. It is a suburban slasher, just absolute gold standard with a very surreal twist. Now, Freddy was known for jokes and quips and all of that stuff later on, but in this one, there was a little bit of that, but he was a very deep, dark, sinister Freddy. This one made us all afraid to go to sleep, including little me back then when I saw it, because you couldn't get away from Freddy because he could get you when you went to sleep, and at some point, you had to go to sleep. That's what makes the horror even more hard-hitting. Then you drop that in the safety of suburbia, and you have something that stands the test of time. A Nightmare on Elm Street comes in at number 3. Now, number 2 on this list is one that I am very partial to. I identify with this one a lot. My family was really into this one growing up, and it predates Poltergeist as maybe one of the most legendary haunted house movies of all time. This one just happened to have a leg up because it was based on a true story. I am talking the Amityville Horror. From 1979, the little suburban town of Amityville, New York. And again, this is based on a true haunting and a book that follows the Lutz family, who move into a home that they got a really great deal on, a deal they shouldn't have been able to get. Turns out they were able to get that deal because of all of the murders that had happened in the house. Now, those murders were 100% real. Those happened. You can believe what you want after that, but we're talking swarms of flies. We're talking priests being attacked. We're talking about ghost pigs. We're talking about a mysterious room that swarms with evil, literally blood oozing out of the walls, and all of this with the real background of real murders in the house is set in picture perfect suburbia with a beautiful colonial style house. Just, it takes this iconic and influential sort of madness of this infamous house and drops it right into you and says, hey, you're not safe anywhere, and beware, because usually if a deal seems too good to be true, there is a reason, and it usually is. The Lutz family lasted all of about a month before they left their belongings, and never came back. This movie chronicles it all. Whether you believe it or not, it makes for some very compelling and scary storytelling. So for those reasons, the Amityville Horror comes in at number 2 on our list. And that just leaves number 1, and there was no question to me. There was no question what was number 1, because this one could take place in any suburb in the USA, a small town. Your neighborhood could be next. This one is directed by Tom Holland. I'm, of course, talking about Fright Night.
Welcome to Fright Night.
From 1985, where you have teenager Charlie Brewster, who suspects his neighbor is a vampire. And of course, no one believes him, so he recruits a late night horror host who is kind of a mismatch of Vincent Price and Peter Cushing. So he is therefore Peter Vincent to help him in getting rid of and investigating this vampire next door who is threatening his existence, his life, his mother, his friends, all of that stuff in a very, very calm and creepy, sexy, and seductive way. It is kind of Rear Window meets Dracula with all of the 80s flair, the synth score, that whole suburban feeling, but some of the best practical effects you're ever going to see this side of John Carpenter's The Thing. And it is right there with The Thing as far as the practical effects in this, which kind of kicked this movie up a notch because it still holds up today, and it could just as easily be your next door neighbor that is a vampire. This one is pure suburban horror fun. The fear that the evil just isn't that far away. It's just next door, and it's watching you, and it could get you anytime. Welcome to Fright Night for real in that case. What makes it worse? that fright next door, that evil, could be wearing a charming sweater vest and be very, very personable and even seduce your mother. That makes it even scarier. That, friends, is why Fright Night, my favorite vampire film of all time, takes the top spot. It's scary, stylish, and oh so stuck in the suburbs in the 80s, and I love every minute of that. So there you have it, 13 spine-tingling tales proving that the suburbs are not safe no matter how nice the lawns look. That evil, that scary creepiness can be lurking just below the surface, just behind those white picket fences. You have no idea what's going on in the bedroom and the backyards next door. Don't forget to like and subscribe, y'all. It really helps out the channel. If you want to support what we're doing here, you can join at my YouTube channel or my Patreon link, where you get much more uncensored videos, all kinds of stuff like that. You're going to get your name and lights on every single video. We do all kinds of things here. Big lists, recommendations, 4K reviews, physical media news, all of that stuff from a fan and filmmaker's perspective. If that is your jam, please stick around, share the channel, and have a good time talking movies with me. But until next time, stay safe out there in suburbia, and be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.
I know.